In this video, I'll share the clothing that I use for backpacking in the 3 seasons. I've added links to all the clothing items that I'll discuss in the description of this video. I hope this information helps you with planning what clothes to bring on your backpacking trips. Now, when it comes to clothing for backpacking, I look for a clothing system that is lightweight and can adapt to the changing conditions to keep me comfortable. With backpacking, we're out for multiple days at a time, and over the course of that time, we can experience a wide range of conditions. My clothing needs on a backpacking trip are going to be influenced by the environmental conditions and my aerobic level. So in order to plan for what clothes I need to bring on a trip to help me maintain my comfort, I need to consider the environmental conditions, which include the temperature range that I'm likely to experience, whether or not I'm expecting rain. I need my clothing to provide protection from the wind, sun, and biting insects if it's bug season. And then my aerobic level also influences my clothing needs at any point in time on my trip. For example, when I'm actively hiking, my body is generating heat and I need less clothing to stay warm compared to when I'm in camp and my body is generating much less heat, so I need more clothing to stay warm when I'm not active. So given these variables, the solution is a clothing system that consists of multiple lightweight layers as opposed to a single heavy layer. This gives me flexibility with my clothing system so it can adapt to the changing environmental conditions and aerobic level. To put it simply, if I get cold, I can add layers. If I get too warm, I can remove layers. And then I have certain layers to offer protection in inclement weather. Alright, so let's get into what clothing I use for backpacking in the 3 seasons. Starting with the trekking or next to skin layer, I have 2 options that I'll choose from for 3-season backpacking. I'll either use a polyester travel shirt or a merino wool hoodie. I'll choose the polyester travel shirt during the warm summer months, especially during bug season. The tight weave of the fabric and the applied insect treatment prevents bugs from biting me through the shirt. I get sun protection from the long sleeves and high collar. The light fabric of the shirt keeps me cooler when I'm hiking in warmer temperatures, and it dries quickly when it gets wet. The fabric and simple design with only one pocket helps to keep the weight down to just over 6 ounces. Now, when bugs aren't a concern and when the temps are cooler in the spring and fall months, I'll instead choose the merino wool hoodie. The wool fabric will offer a little more warmth than the travel shirt. The sleeves have thumb loops, so I can add a little bit of warmth to my wrists and part of my hands. It also has a hood so I can keep my head warm. I can use the half zip along the front to regulate my core temperature as I'm hiking. And since the merino wool will take a little longer to dry than the travel shirt, I prefer to have a lighter weight fabric such as a 150 or 185 gram per meter squared fabric, as it will dry faster than a heavier weight fabric. Now, you do have to be careful if you're going to be doing any bushwhacking with this shirt, as it can snag and get damaged. So if I had to bushwhack with a shirt, I put a shell layer over it to protect it. Next, we have the mid and shell layer. First, let's go over the purpose of these 2 layers. The mid layer will add some warmth when added over our trekking layer, and the shell will offer some protection from wind and or precipitation. I again have 2 options that I'll choose from for a mid layer. Both are made from a polyester fleece material. You'll notice that both are half zips, which will save weight over a full zip, while still allowing me to regulate my core temperature when I'm actively hiking. Both do not have any pockets or windproofing panels, which saves weight, enhances breathability, and reduces drying time when they get wet. When I need windproofing, I can just add the shell layer instead of having windproofing panels added to my fleece. For warmer temperatures that I would find in the summer, I'll use the ultralight fleece, which weighs under 5 ounces. It has a hood which works well when paired with my polyester travel shirt that doesn't have a hood. For the cooler temps that I would typically experience in the spring and fall, I'll instead go with the slightly heavier 100 weight material in the light fleece. Next, I have 2 options for the shell layer. Which one I choose to bring is really based on whether or not rain is expected on my trip. If my trip is in the summer where we just don't experience much rain in the US Mountain West, and the forecasts aren't predicting rain, in that case, I'll use the wind shell. Now, if there's a good chance of rain, or if my trip is in the spring and fall where rain is more likely, then I'll simply just bring the rain shell and leave the wind shell at home. Now, when I'm hiking in these shells in sustained rain, I can't expect these shells to keep me dry. They eventually wet out and you can expect to get wet. Ask me how I know this. They'll at least delay the amount of time for this to happen. Now, when I'm actively hiking and my body is generating heat, I found that I don't ever really need more than the combination of the trekking, mid plus shell layer to stay warm in my coldest 3-season conditions. When I'm stopped and my body is generating much less heat, I need a different layer that we'll look at next. When I get into camp and the temperature drops, I put on my insulated jacket to stay warm. My insulated jacket uses 900 fill down for insulation. I like down over synthetic because it's warmer for its weight and it can compress to a smaller volume in my pack. This jacket has elastic cuffs and a draw cord around both the hood and waist so I can cinch these tight when it gets really cold to trap as much body heat as possible. I take care not to let this jacket get wet as down takes a long time to dry, so I don't use this in the rain. I mainly use this jacket when I'm in camp or during a cold rest stop or on really cold nights if I need more warmth when I'm sleeping. This is one jacket where I don't mind the added hand pockets since I do use them in camp. I don't need pockets in the jackets that I hike in, and this is one jacket that I rarely hike in. Now, I have hiked in this jacket on really cold mornings, but once I get moving, I warm up quickly and the jacket goes right back in the pack. Now, I could go with a slightly lighter down jacket for the summer to save weight, but down jackets are expensive and I can use this one insulated jacket to cover my 3-season needs. Now, if we look at the trekking layer for my legs, I'll either hike in shorts or pants. For really warm temperatures, I'll hike in running shorts when I find it to be too hot for pants. I like a running short better than a dedicated hiking short because I find them to be lighter and less restrictive when moving fast. These running shorts have a built-in liner, so I don't need a separate underwear with them. Now, if the conditions aren't very warm, then I'll usually just hike in trekking pants. Pants will give me sun, bug, and protection for my legs when I'm either bushwhacking or hiking along a trail with overgrown brush. I like a pant that is made mostly of nylon with a small percentage of spandex to give the pants some stretch so they don't restrict my movement. Of course, the pants don't have a liner, so I'll have to pair them with a set of boxer briefs. These provide good support and have adequate durability for hiking. I bring one extra set that allows me to alternate my underwear each day. I can clean the pair that I'm not using in the morning and hang them on the outside of my pack to dry so that I have a clean, dry pair for the next day. All right, shell and insulating layer for my legs. In spring and fall, when I'm more likely to encounter rain, I'll bring a set of rain pants. These weigh under 3 ounces and pack very small. I can also bring these during the warm summer months when I'm hiking in shorts and I need bug protection and some added warmth when in camp. For the much colder periods that I may encounter on a spring and fall trip, I can add these lightweight down pants. These are used in camp when I've stopped moving for the day. I can also use these for sleeping if I need to extend the warmth for my sleeping quilt. In the fall, when the days get shorter and I'm spending more time in camp, these are nice to have in those situations. But I should mention that for summer, I don't need an insulating layer for my pants, so I don't bring these. Okay, for headwear, I have clothing items for warmth, sun, and bug protection. Let's start with protection from the sun. I'll hike in a ball cap and a sun gaiter to protect my head and neck, and sunglasses to protect my eyes from the sun. I'll use the merino wool beanie when it's colder, and I also sleep in the beanie on most nights since my quilt doesn't have a hood. During the summer, when it's bug season, I'll bring a bug net to protect me from the biting insects when I'm in camp and can't outrun the little buggers anymore. This weighs almost nothing and can mean the difference between a pleasant camp experience and a miserable one. So it always comes with me unless I know that I'm outside of the bug season. For socks, I use these light quarter height socks. I like these socks because they provide some cushioning, but they aren't too thick to where when I wash them, it would take a long time for them to dry. Similar to the underwear, I bring one extra pair of socks that allows me to alternate my socks each day. I can clean the pair I'm not using in the morning, hang them on the outside of my pack to dry so that I have a clean, dry pair to sleep in and use the next day. And then I'll usually add a lightweight gaiter to keep debris from entering the opening of my shoes. Okay, gloves. So to keep my hands warm, I have a fleece glove and a pair of rain mittens that are made out of a waterproof material. These are basically just rain shell type gloves. For the warm temps of summer, where I usually don't even need gloves, I'll usually just bring the rain mitts since they're so light and packable. Now, in the spring and fall, when the temps are colder, I'll bring both sets of gloves. And if I get caught in both cold and wet conditions, I can wear the rain mitts over the fleece to keep my hands warm. I keep a shirt and a set of merino wool leggings in my pack that I only use for sleeping. There are two reasons I do this. First, I just feel like I get a better night's sleep if I change out of my dirty hiking clothes and sleep in clean clothing. And second, if I happen to come into camp and my clothes were still wet, I know that I have a dry set of clothing that I can sleep in. And then I'll add that merino wool beanie since, as I mentioned, my quilt doesn't have a hood. And then I have that extra pair of socks that I can put on my feet to keep warm during the night. Okay, so now that I've gone through all of that clothing, let's look at an example trip to see what clothing I would bring for a specific trip. So let's say this is a trip that's midsummer in the U.S. Mountain West. The duration is going to be 5 nights, 6 days. The temperature range, lows in the 40s to highs in the 80s Fahrenheit. There's no precipitation in the forecast, and it's midsummer where we typically don't get much rain, and if we do get rain, it doesn't last long. For sun exposure, I can expect to be exposed to the sun, especially there's parts of the route that are above tree line. And it is during bug season, so I can expect biting insects. So, given those conditions, what clothing would I bring on this trip? All right, so given those conditions, this is the set of clothes that I would bring on the trip. So since it's midsummer and it's bug season, I'll go for the polyester travel shirt. It's not going to be too hot, so I can hike in the trekking pants and simplify things. It's not going to be too cold, so I'll go with the ultralight fleece. And since it's midsummer and there's no rain in the forecast, I'll go ahead and bring the wind shell. And then I'm going to always bring my down jacket. And since it's midsummer and I'm going to be exposed to sun, I'm going to bring my typical headwear, the hat, sunglasses, and neck gaiter. And then, of course, bug season, I've got to bring the head net. And then I've got my clothing for sleep along with that merino wool cap. And you can see I've got my extra pair of underwear and extra pair of socks. So this is all of the clothes that I would bring on the trip. So some of this, of course, I'll be wearing, and then some of this will be in my pack available to wear. All right, so that concludes with what clothing I take on my backpacking trips. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more related content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.